Warm welcome to the interview, a short interview. It is a
Sure.
pleasure to have you here. So, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, very well. A few long nights with the Champions Trophy over here, so not getting a huge amount of sleep, but it's been a good tournament so far. I've enjoyed it.
Obviously, the other day, Virat Kohli played a superlative knock. You would have also seen it. So, can you just take us through how he constructs an innings in ODI cricket or limited overs cricket? You have seen him behind the scenes, also from close quarters. So, just a few words.
Oh, look, I think in terms of his preparation, he's very aware of the bowlers that he's going to want to take on particular surfaces. So there's quite a lot of preparation goes into it from a thought process around that. Obviously, he knows the conditions pretty well. He's what I would describe as an exceptional problem solver. So he's one of those guys that does a lot of his work out there. He might go in with some preconceived ideas, but once he gets out there, assesses conditions well, makes that assessment of what shots are on and what aren't. So even though he might look an instinctive player, he's actually put quite a lot of prep into how his game might suit that particular surface against those particular bowlers. So and we've all talked about the master chase that he's in, but he's able to very much navigate his side to victory depending on what the game pace is. So he can read the game pace and then go up and down through the gears depending on what is required to navigate his side to a win. So and in Dubai, for example, two quite different surfaces so far that he's had to play on. So his game in terms of probably being more confident on this surface to be able to prop forward and drive through the offside. Wasn't as much seam movement as that first game, but there was a little bit more hold in the surface. So he basically made that assessment pretty quickly. And then obviously as the dew came in, other shots opened up. He's always going to run hard and always going to put pressure on the opposition that way. So, but I think there was more strokes on offer on the last surface than the one before. So he's sort of able to assess that.
As I just observed, you have seen him from behind the scenes, so from close quarters. So can you say a little more or delve deeper into how Virat Kohli goes about his business behind the scenes in terms of his practice, in terms of his net sessions?
Um, yeah, look, it very much depends on what stage he's at, like whether it's leading into a tournament, whether you've just got a short period of time between times and he wants to get that feel. I mean, he's very much a feel player. So he wants to, some players are more into the technical side. Virat's more into as I said, into feel. So, he wants to hit enough balls to leave the net knowing that he's confident. So the whole idea of a preparation is, if he's not scoring runs, he'll want to do that extra work in the nets. So hit the amount of balls to keep the form up, or find form. He's one of the few guys I've come across who can actually find form in the nets, and therefore give himself that confidence that he's done the work and he'll flow into the next game. A lot of players very much are short and sharp in the nets. Virat's probably much longer. He likes to have a longer net if he's not scoring runs, and then when he is scoring runs and he's in a bit of a flow, he also then likes to have a long net so that he can keep that flow going. So I'm not a big guy for watching videos, but probably more about, as I said, that kinesthetic awareness and that feel that some other players don't have.
Talked about that feel, you talked about how he seems to find form in the nets or something on those lines. So, is there any specific memory or anecdote from that time when you were the director at RCB or coach?
Oh, look, yeah, look, there were many times where Virat would come down early, like he did the other day. There were very time where, as he's not quite feeling it. So, we get some bowlers down there, and then Sanjay Bangar, myself, would come down early. Sometimes he just likes to have a net by himself, with a coach. do some work and just get that feel away from the limelight. So he really enjoys that, that time in his own space, just working with the coach one-on-one, finding that feel. And that's, rather than going into the nets and occupying a lot of team time, he's very comfortable doing that himself, do his work, do his fielding, and then go. So, he knows very much what works for him now.
So how do you look at the Indian team? Obviously, the batting lineup is very strong. When India have enough spinners, but what about India's seam attack? Especially Mohammad Shami is not getting any younger. They have a couple of young bowlers, inexperienced bowlers. So,
look, I think before this tournament, I was thinking Arshdeep Singh was going to be was going to go with Shami, and I thought that would work well. But when you only have two frontline seamers, they have to bowl at least 3 spells. And Arshdeep is probably more suited to bookending the innings, at the front and the back end. So I think that's a fair enough decision with Rana. And he showed that ability, that change of pace. He can still bowl new ball, but he's got quite a different skill set than Mohammad Shami. So I think they actually complement each other well. And Hardik Pandya has been very good. And I think his ability to control his length in Dubai, very good seam presentation, makes him a high-quality third seamer. So I think India benefiting from that, the fact that Hardik is in top of his form with the ball. And then when you've got all of those spinners that you can just rotate and use depending on matchups, it's a good lineup. I'd be surprised if Chakravarti doesn't play against New Zealand, just for them to find out, whether they can fit that extra spinner in. But I think with potential of dew in Dubai, which does crop up from time to time, it's going to be hard for them to just play Hardik and one other. So, and I'm not sure who they would leave out. I mean, it would probably have to be Jadeja. And then your balance is all over the place. So, I mean, it's easy to replace Washington with Jadeja, but I'm not so sure Chakravarti. So I'm not sure how they'll shape it. But, look, India are the form side. I think South Africa are the other form side. And that's probably, we could have picked that before the start of the tournament, and it's probably flowed out that way as well.
You talked about the conditions. Obviously, when you were with the RCB, IPL was played at a slightly different time here in Dubai. Maybe the weather is slightly cooler during this time, during night time. So, can you just take us through the conditions in Dubai?
Look, I think the dew point is probably a bit higher now, I would say, because the change in temp, it's not going down real cold, but it's dropping enough. I think the dew point's about 6 degrees in Dubai. So anything that drops more than that, you pretty much know there's going to be a dew. And if it gets up to 9, it's going to be a heavy dew. Obviously taking into account the wind or potential overcast conditions, but basically the dew point of 6 degrees is relatively low. So, you always know that that's a real possibility. And that just, it doesn't necessarily have to cause, droplets on the outfield, but it causes a really nice sheen on the wicket. And once you get that sheen on the wicket, the two-pace nature of the Dubai pitch doesn't take effect. Whereas, when you're bowling first with that two-pace nature, all of your bowlers come into play. You guys that bowl change-ups, your seam bowlers up front. There's just a little bit in it. We saw from Shami that first day. And then your spinners are all in the game, whether a wrist or even a finger spinner, because there's enough hold in the surface. Whereas the second innings, there isn't. Your finger spinners start to slide onto the bat. Your wrist spinners are still effective, but not if it turns to a heavy dew. So, I actually like the Dubai Stadium because all of your bowlers are in the game, unless there's a heavy dew, and that becomes a little bit unfair. In terms of 50-50 competition, the dew factor probably makes it more, 70-30 really in favour of chasing.
There's a couple of questions on the New Zealand team as well. especially Mitchell Santner. He made his debut somewhere in 2015 during your tenure. So how do you look at his evolution as a bowler? Obviously now he's the captain as well of the white ball sides.
Oh, look, I mean, I picked Mitchell
Mm,
Santner when he'd played
mm,
very few games.
mm,
I pretty much picked him from a
mm,
second 11 game
mm,
as a replacement for Daniel Vittori.
mm,
And more so because, we knew he could bat at that time. We wanted that multi-skilled cricketer, and we felt that he put plenty of revs on the
mm,
ball.
mm,
And he's very street smart. He's academically clever. He's got a great cricket brain in terms of reading the batters. And I guess because of that low front arm, he's able to make a late change in terms of trajectory. He can follow the batter. He can bowl it slow and wide. He's got all the tricks. Yet his stock ball also has plenty of revs on it. So he's got better and better. He didn't play because we picked him young and we picked him early in his career. He really hadn't played any first-class cricket as a bowler. So he probably didn't get that volume of overs that a lot of young spinners get because he was pretty much chucked straight into the white ball game. And that probably affected his ability to shift to Test cricket. But now he's got a few games under his belt. He's now starting to evolve in that area too. But just a fine all-round cricketer. I mean, I think I spoke earlier about the fact he used to open the batting at younger levels and lower levels. So he's got that batting technique, even though he's quite an unusual technique. And he's got genuine power, and he's got a great swing of the bat. Fine golfer, and I think a lot of that swing comes from his golf swing, where he generates huge amount of power. So it was only a matter of time before he came into the leadership roles because of that ability to read the game really nicely, understand what's required at what time. And he's a very well-liked guy in the group, a very well-respected player within the group as well because of his work ethic and, the way he reads the game. So he started really nicely and a nice calm manner, which is, I guess, a continuation of where both Kane and Tom operated as well.
What about New Zealand's batting lineup is a well-oiled machine. We all know that. But what about in New Zealand's seam attack? Obviously, no Trent Bolt now, no Tim Southee, but William O'Rourke and Matt Henry. They have enough firepower in that pace department as well, with Kyle Jamieson as well coming into the ranks.
Oh, look, they're very front end loaded though. So all of those bowlers we talk about are very good in the first 15 overs of the match. Very dangerous. So if you get a side 3 down, then you're away. If you don't though, all 3 of those are suited, as I said, for the same role. So you wouldn't say any of them are death specialists. They can all come back through the middle and bowl short spells, but they're certainly not suited to the back end. So if you're defending a score and you're under the pump, they're certainly missing Lockie Ferguson or even you like to see Trent Bolt, Tim Southee, who was so experienced in that role. So that's probably an area that New Zealand probably aren't as proficient as they would like to be. But they've gone for the attacking option up front with Jamieson. They could go Duffy because Jacob Duffy is very much, very much a death specialist. And he's a new ball bowler, but he doesn't have to take a new ball. So be interesting to see what they do, especially on the, when the surfaces are slower and they don't offer as much bounce, then they might go Duffy instead of Jamieson. And I think that's something they would definitely consider.
Just one final question. Obviously, on the professional front, I'm hearing that you are opening a YouTube account. So in relation to cricket, just if you want to share your thoughts on it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've obviously done quite a lot of work, with TV and stuff, here and abroad. A lot of time in India as well. And doing a lot of stuff more remotely now. So, yeah, I've set up a YouTube channel, Coach Hesson. Obviously, the social platforms and bits and pieces. So just trying to share a perspective from a coaching point of view. You know, there are a lot of ex-players out there who are offering, you know, thoughts on the game, but not many coaches and not many international coaches. So it's just a different perspective. I see a lot of anecdotes, a lot of stories around experiences that I've had as an international coach or in the franchise circuit. So yeah, enjoying it. There's plenty of work, but yeah, log into Coach Hesson and see if you get any insights.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking your time out. I will just compile this interview as soon as possible. Thank you again.
Good man. Thanks, Virat. Nice to talk.